been asking if I had been going the distance. Sing a prayer for passion that I cannot deny.
Hello everybody, my name is Skybound.
Starlight Flex.
And we've just got finished watching episode 16 of Hero Academia. And wow,
That
was
one hell of an episode.
that was a fantastic
I mean,
episode.
well, do you want to start off? James?
Yeah, sure. So let's face it, we've already seen the impressive improvisation skills of Midoriya, but in this episode it seems like, you know, he was able to get through that entire first competition without using his superpower at all.
I know, that's amazing. How the hell do you manage to do that? Well, by sheer dumb luck. Well, I wouldn't say, okay, not sheer dumb luck.
I would say it was more skill than anything else.
Well, he was very resourceful because he sort of realised that panel what could potentially be useful.
Yeah, he used the panel as a weapon, and you know, it wasn't entirely clear why he kept carrying it around, because that would surely have slowed him down, but then it became a bit clearer when they got to the minefield. I am very, very sort of impressed with, as well, how Midoriya seems to have, you know, because he can't really use his powers, he's kind of honed his reaction times and his ability to react a lot better. Like, you know, when he was dodging that robot right at the start, using it to smack the...
Well, using the panel as a way of smacking them, it's like his reaction times have been honed by it. His adaptability and, you know, being able to just being resourcefulness has improved because he's had to be resourceful.
But we've also seen him, you know, have good reaction times anyway. Like, I can't remember which episode it was. It was one of the early ones of season 1
Was it the one with
where he
Bakugo?
kind of tosses, where he kind of, you know, does that shoulder toss on Bakugo.
Yeah.
So it's like, he seems to know some martial arts of some kind.
Yeah.
So even if he can't use his power, he seems to be able to be good at using other people's power against them, essentially. And actually he did a similar thing with his One For All power in that same episode I was talking to back then, where he kind of punches Bakugo's stores and it, you know, shoots explosions up in the air. So I think to be honest, if I was to say he had a quirk, like his own quirk, I'd say his improvisation skills is a quirk in and of itself with how...
Well, yeah, I mean, just the sheer... I think it is because he's basically been obsessive about this for so long that he actually knows the ins and outs of what sort of... You know, he's been watching heroes for a long time, he's been idolising them for a long time, and he's even been making notes about them.
Well, he's been making notes and he knows, like, their powers and stuff like that.
But I think making notes helps you organise things. You know, the whole point of notes isn't necessarily for memory, it's to actually help you think things through. You know, so he probably had a lot of ideas just by writing those notes and observing other heroes. So it's no wonder that he's, you know, been able to come up with, you know, ideas like this. But
also another thing I like is the fact that when it was at the minefield part, because that was another kind of very distinctive part of the episode, I do like how they covered the fact that, oh yeah, by the way guys, these aren't proper landmines, you know, these are just like, these are just competition landmines, so you're not going to lose any legs or anything.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, if that
typical
was
anime hand wave, like, oh don't worry, these girls may be in these tanks, but they can't kill each other if they manage to shoot these
it's fine guys, the inside of the tank is coated with a carbon shell that blocks tank explosions, it's totally safe, you know. I mean, I will admit, some anime, some of the anime physics around explosions is kind of bullshit, but I do like the fact that...
That was bullshit!
But I do like the fact that they kind of go, oh yeah, they're not like proper mines. They're just training mines. Because that meant, you know, well, if they're not deadly, then sure, but they do seem to propel people up into the air. Sure, there's no reason he can't use
Yeah,
that.
but if you're being propelled up there, that must mean there's some force behind there, meaning that the force could actually kill you. If you get forced up that flipping high, how the hell? Like,
Well, I mean, they are heroes, so they probably being launched into the air isn't the bad thing.
it's coming down.
I mean, theoretically, if it wasn't like, if it didn't contain any explosives and it was just a very high pressure kind of blast of air, for example, that wouldn't kind of, that wouldn't cause serious damage, but it would still kind of fling you in the air. But it would have to be a very, very high pressure.
It was that was the moment where I think I was absolutely speechless at that point.
Yeah, I have to admit.
You have to see the react in if you have. Did we mention that?
Yeah, got a link in the description.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can see that. Yeah, that was an amazing moment. The fact he used that to pass to Bakugo and the other guy, which I keep forgetting the name of. I really will. I'll lock that down eventually. But yeah, also the fact Midoriya actually won.
Wow. Yeah. But
That is-
that is actually a good point. Because it's the first time he's actually managed to win a competition, and oh my god, it's going to be interesting next time. He's put a target on himself because, like, if you beat the person who won the first time round in the first event, you actually managed to get
You back
basically
10 million points if you beat him.
Jesus Christ.
So basically, he's got a target on his back.
Jesus Christ.
But I have to say, one of the things I'm really impressed by with this show is that so far, because it hasn't really played all that much, of Midoriya actually winning stuff. Like most of the time, he comes either runner-up or he doesn't win, but he gets, he tries his hardest and he gets a decent result. It's when you actually see him succeed, when you actually see him win, it's not only a surprise, but you actually feel really good for him.
Yeah.
Because you see him repeatedly
and
doing
this,
this stuff.
and this kind of shows how good the writing of the staff behind the show is, because the very fact that not only have they been consistent with their writing and the quality of the writing, there's not been a single episode that I can say I've been disappointed with. There've been better episodes than others, but I have never been disappointed by a single one of them. And the fact is, they can, with the writing, it seems like they manage to do stuff like that. That is such a simple thing where if the hero of, the person if the person who's the main, person you're following through the show is kind of winning stuff all the while, it kind of makes it boring.
Well, essentially, if you already know what the outcome of the battle is going to be, then it gets boring. So when you see like main characters who literally win every single time, there's no longer a question of are they going to do this?
It's like going back to like the Pokemon series. The character always wins unless it's the flipping Elite Four, which he never wins because then they would end the show. But the long story short, it's heroes that constantly win are boring.
I mean, I suppose in a way, some anime will sort of subvert that. Like, for example, I hear that One Punch Man, while it's technically a hero that kills everything in one punch, so it's basically, would probably win pretty much everything. I hear it kind of subverts that with like different comedic elements instead. So it's kind of a thing where it's they do well here because they give you a character, but they don't make this character a complete. I suppose it would be Gary Stu if it's
Gary Stu, yeah.
Because the thing is, he's steadily working himself up, and I do like the fact that we don't really see him win all that often, because when he does actually win, it's kind of something like, oh,
it's
he actually won.
something that
you actually feel glad for him, because
and he feels like he's actually earned it as well.
Yeah, you don't really. I mean, I'm not saying you don't expect it to happen, but it's more like you see it happen, and because it's not something that always happens, there's less kind of.
You kind of expect them to win the final battle of the entire show. You expect that. But when it comes to things like these sort of things, like these tournament battles where they could lose and they wouldn't die from losing, essentially, then yeah, it's you kind of expect them to at least win or overcome their odds all the while. So, and take it. Well, what do you think as far as the view score?
That was a really good episode. I mean, I can't really think of a more fitting score for that than a solid 9.4.
Yeah, I would say about 9.5 actually.
9.5.
Yeah, that was a bit. It's only one more point than you, for Christ's sake. I was definitely going to say something in the 9 ranges. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but still, it was, it was an incredible episode. It was such a fun episode to watch, and it was so good to see Midoriya actually gaining victory. Like, I'm not gonna. So, I mean, I've repeated it so many times.
We've repeated it so many times, but
seeing it was so satisfying. It genuinely, that was so satisfying to see that end.
Yeah.
And I really hope that we see more episodes like that, because that was genuinely a great episode. Keep this up, please,
Cheers.
animators of this series.
Well, we've got a few more episodes to go, so.
We do, yeah. Anyway, from me, Skybound.
Cyflux.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time with the next episode of Boku no Hero Academia. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.